Hello, Shmai. I'm Ben Whitehouse, and this is the final whistle.
Hello and welcome back to the final whistle, brought to you by the Rugby Connection podcast. Well, we're kind of making history today. It is our third referee, but it is our first ever TMO. He has refereed everywhere that you could think of: Pro 12, Pro 14, now URC, internationals, whether it's Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, everything. And on top of that, he now decides whether there was foul play or the try was given. It's Ben Whitehouse. Ben, how are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Really excited to do this when you give me a little message. See if I was interested, and yeah, done a couple of various podcasts around the world and around Wales, and yeah, always enjoy them. So hopefully this lives up to it.
I'm hoping we're instantly the best. That's the aim.
Sure it will be, mate. Sure it will.
But first of all, thank you for agreeing to come on.
No problem at all.
Good. First question, we ask all our guests this just to kind of get the ball rolling. What actually got you into rugby? And then I'll categorize it. What got you into refereeing as well?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a question that probably a lot of people ask for. Rugby is a simple one. Living in Wales, much like a lot of the UK sort of areas, big rugby history within Wales. Live down in Swansea, obviously huge rugby culture down here as well. My family, you only have to meet them, all rugby mad. Played, coached, refereed, you name it, they've done it. So just a bit of a rugby tradition within the family, really. And it was just natural when I was 6 years old, joined the local touch rugby side as it was back then, and then played, and then sort of, I always say I fell into reffing, really. I'm sure there was a little bit of nudging from my father, who was an international referee before me, but he was never too pushy with it. So the second part of your question then is around sort of the refereeing. How did I fall into that? And it was an interesting one, really. Like I think if you ask a lot of the referees I work with who refereed me when I was younger and still playing, they would probably have thought I was one of the last people to become a referee. I was a Chopsy 9 and then an even Chopsy 10, and I think the coaches started moving me out from 9 to 10 to 12 to 13, and then to fullback to stop me shouting at the referees. So at 16, I did a refereeing course with no plan to referee as such, just more so to help out in my local club. I'll give them a bit of a shout out, Pencloud RFC. Friend of my father's had a under 10 side at the time, I think under 10, under 11 maybe. Rhys Davis, who plays for Wales now, just had his cap last week, was in that side. Will Jones, ex Wales Sevens, Ospreys, he was in that side as well. And and Morgan Morris, actually, at the Ospreys, was in the side as well. So yeah, they were a good side, but they had no ref. So at sort of 17, 18, I decided that, I'll come and help out. Went to uni, played at Glamorgan Uni on a Wednesday, and then just sort of found myself refereeing on a Saturday, really, because I couldn't get back to play on a Saturday for my club. Didn't want to join anyone else. Had no interest in joining anywhere else. I remember a Boxing Day derby. I managed to get home because I was obviously home for Christmas. I got myself red carded, and I thought to myself, that's probably time for me to tap out from playing, and I'll take up the whistle a bit, sort of on a more regular basis. And yeah, it was very organic from that moment. It happened very quickly. Same as for me, Craig Evans, Dan Jones, and happened very quickly because we were pushed through. But yeah, it was nice to come through with some friends. We've sort of all made our professional debuts within sort of 2 or 3 years of each other. And yeah, here I am now. 12 years on from starting.
Has it been 12 years?
Yeah, so not professionally. I've been professional for 8 years, but I've been refereeing for about 12 years now, since I was about 20-ish.
You skyrocketed to professional then?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like, it's funny you should say that. Like, when you actually look at the time scales, yes is the answer. 19, 20, up to about 25. It felt long, But actually 5 years, like when you're young, 5 years is a long, long time, isn't it? When you're 20 years old. But actually, when you look at it, great scheme of things, it happened very quick, man. Yeah, really quick.
That's more credit to you for just. I know you said it did feel longer, but when you look at it in hindsight, it is a rapid acceleration. So
yeah, it's actually like looking back with a slightly older head. I think if I could say one thing to Ben Whitehouse at 25 is just be patient. Maybe give yourself, a year or two lower down. I don't mean that in a bad way, just sort of like in the Premiership underneath the professional era. And so I was more ready going into professional rugby because obviously I learned on the job a lot, which means I made mistakes rather than coming in as a more polished article. I came in young, dumb, sort of scared of nothing really, but that brings its own problems.
That's good though that you could reflect, and I think it's like everyone though. You're probably still learning now because you've kind
so
of
much.
Well, you're now a TMO as well, aren't you?
So learning all the time, mate. You work with Nigel Owen's my coach at the moment. Dave McHugh was my coach before Nige, and working with boys like really good friends with Ben O'Keefe, Andy Brace, Luke Pierce, Matt Carley, or Wayne Barnes. Learning so much off these boys. Going to TMO. I'm still only 32 years old. I hope I've got a lot to give the game and give the sort of art of refereeing. And sort of, I just learned trying to get snippets off these boys who have sort of at the upper echelons of the game, the elite level of the game, just trying to get snippets to make my own game better when I'm refereeing them. You have to learn constantly. You have to adapt, evolve, and grow all the time, no matter how old you are.
No, I love that. I'm glad you've actually mentioned Nigel Owens because we've got a fan question. It's from Gareth.
Yeah.
He's saying, as Nigel Owens is now a referee consultant, has it any impact on how you referee games, and has it made your performances better?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So this is my first year working with Nige. So I was coached by Dave McHugh from Ireland before this season. But obviously Nige, when she retired, became a coach within the WRU and then a consultant with the URC. So it was natural and sort of a nice transition for Nige to then take on myself as a student to use that sort of term. And yeah, of course, mate. Look, he's been one of, if not the best referee of all time, depending on who you speak to. I certainly think he's one of the best referees that has ever been. And yeah, it's really great just speaking to him, and he's very open in how I want to referee, because obviously we've all got different styles of refereeing. You only have to look at the top 3 or 4 in the world. They've all got different styles of refereeing, and it's important you keep your own style, because I think once you start, trying to be Wayne Barnes, trying to be Ben O'Keefe, that's where you go wrong. So yeah, now you're just trying to instill that I referee how I want to referee, but trying to get the best out of me, whilst keeping a little bit of identity.
Yeah, no, I like that. What would you say your style of reffing is? I know that might sound a stupid question, but it makes sense in my head.
I know. I suppose if you speak to some fans, they think I kill the game, but I'm a rugby fan. Like, I'm a sport mad fan. Like, fan of all sports, whether it be football, we were just talking about off air there, football, golf, cricket, any sport. I just love the joys, the trials, the tribulations of sport. So I would hope that I'm someone who tries to sort of find the balance between being punitive and sort of letting things go, managing the game. It's a very difficult art. I tried to be a good communicator. I was a police officer in my previous life, so I'm still trying to sort of, even now, after 8 years of doing this, trying to find a method of being firm but fair, trying to sort of get my point across without being sort of authoritarian. I know some people say referees like to be in the camera, being on camera, love being on camera, and I can promise you, most of the work that I put in during the week is actually trying to stay off camera, as best as you can. It doesn't always happen. You get controversial decisions, where you have to be on camera. But you know, just most of our work is always how can we deal with this by being the least intrusive manner, really. I hope that sort of answers your question. Is a little bit long-winded.
Yeah. I know you said most of your work you're trying to stay off camera, but there was one major incident that is now like famous on YouTube. And it's you with John
Muldoon,
John Muldoon, and the Munster Connacht game, and I know it's funny enough that he is your coach now, but it does have a lot of Nigel Owens-esque to it, especially the first 2 seconds of it.
Yeah, I agree, and like it's an interesting clip because obviously that went viral at the time, and then obviously it went viral not so long back as well on TikTok or something. I'm not a big TikToker, but my younger cousins show me it. I remember reflecting on that clip at the time and sort of, you know, obviously people were loving it, but at the same time, actually the referee coaches and people involved in refereeing weren't loving it. They were sort of the mindset of that's not how we want you, Ben Whitehouse, to deal with it, because we know Ben Whitehouse off the field, and that's not Ben Whitehouse off the field. That's a different person. And yeah, that was a tough game, Connacht Munster. I think that was in Thomond Park. I refed them both that year, in Thomond and in the sports ground. I think that one was in Thomond. You know, massive game. Connacht, first time they beat them in about 30 years in Thomond Park. I think it was only my second or third season in the league, and Ed Morrison had given me this game, and I was just like up here, like. And yeah, John Muldoon, great captain, great bloke. I'm glad I had an opportunity to say that because he's a great bloke. And I sort of regretted a little bit how I spoke to him, because I think he probably would agree he did shout at me, you know, for missing a knock on. And I can say it now, I did miss a knock on. And I said it after the game, obviously on our private reviews. But the way he did it, probably he would look back and say I shouldn't have done that. And likewise, I probably shouldn't have given him the dressing down, you know, 26-year-old versus a 10-year veteran. Like, he's probably looking at me going, who's this guy? But there's a lot of reflection about that clip. I like some parts of it, but at some of it, I'm like, what did I say? Something like, oh, look at me when I'm talking to you, or something like some of that. Like, maybe I didn't need to say, but I had them. You know, you get het up, you see a bit of red, and the sort of the monkey side of your brain comes out, and the chimp comes out, and sort of you get a little bit angry when you shouldn't do.
I mean, I liked all of it. I know that I wasn't rated or anything, but I liked all of it just because you stood your ground. I like referees that. Obviously, you don't want a referee to kill the game. I know that's not what you try to do, but if a referee makes a mistake, they're human. They make mistakes as well. You could tell I've interviewed referees, so I'm very understanding. There's got to be an element of us being firm, but I think there's certain ways we can do it, and I think sometimes there is times where you need to come down, like I did come down, but I think there's a time and place for it. Maybe I wouldn't now at sort of 8 years on from that clip, or 6 years on from that clip. Maybe I wouldn't have dealt with it quite like that, but at the same time, I still think I would have dealt with it. Go more abrasive, more.
Grabbed each other.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it. Yeah. We've got a fan question kind of leading into this. I don't know if John's in this list or not, but Dan McFarlane has asked, who's the 3 hardest players to referee? I don't know, but
it's an interesting question, really. Like, some players certain players are challenging on the field, but absolutely outstanding blokes off the field. You know, 9s and 10s. You know, the top 9s and 10s in the world. Like, you'll struggle to pick an easy one to referee. You know, they're always within sort of meters of the breakdown, so they question everything, and that sometimes makes a good player. So without sort of naming any names, you look at I suppose I can name, you know, your Dan Biggers, your Johnny Sextons. They're such knowledgeable players. And they're shouting things in sometimes in the breakdown, and I'm looking back on review going, Christ, he had a good point there. And I missed it. But they're good guys off the field. People give those boys raps about berating referees, and sometimes they do, but they're winners. They haven't got where they are in their chosen sports by being passive and sort of accepting mediocrity. And that's playing, that's teammates, that's coaches, that's referees. They're born winners, and that goes for most players at that professional end of the game. They've all got a little bit of a difficult streak at times.
That's fair. I mean, I could tell you've rehearsed that answer. I'm joking. That is a good answer.
And to be fair, I think I've been asked that a couple of times in dinners and what have you. And it's a pretty stock answer, and I've polished that one off. But try to be a bit political with it. But
that's all good. That's all good.
No, it's all good.
Dan's actually asked another question, so I'll just get that out of the way while he can get his 15 minutes of fame.
He's a busy man, Dan. It's not the Ulster coach, a different one.
No, he's in our group chat with me, so I was just like, I've got Ben Whitehouse coming on. Do you want to ask a question? And then he asked two. I was like, I asked for one, but it's all good.
Yeah. That's cool, mate. Yeah, it's good.
He's asked top 3 referees in the world, in your opinion.
You've got about Wayne Barnes would be up there. Ben O'Keefe for me. And then that sort of third spot really on their day, could be anyone really. The group is so tight at the moment. Like it really is so tight. There's sort of 12, 15 referees. Actual referees that are going to go to the World Cup potentially in the middle. There's 15 in that group in the Six Nations now, and honestly, mate, game to game, you could choose who those 12 could be, and it could change slightly. You've got your likes of Andy Brace, Matt Carley, Luke Pearce, obviously Jakob Piper. There's another name I missed out at the start. You could honestly, any given day, they have the day. Oh God, yeah, geez, what a performance that was. And then they have another game, which was maybe someone else did better. So it's always shot and change. I really honestly think that we've got the tightest in terms of performance and off field as well as a group. We've probably got the tightest group we've had in, that I've been involved in sort of 8 years of this, but you're looking from the outside more, 8, 10, 15 years, speaking to other referees where, there was probably certain ones fighting against each other, it was very competitive. But now we've got such a tight group in terms of performance and off-field stuff. It's hard to pick who the 3 are, really.
That's fair. You named 2 very solid ones.
Yeah.
I'm actually really glad you mentioned one because he is friend of the show. It is Ben O'Keefe.
Funny enough, when I put the Instagram thing that you sent me on my story, he'd send me a quick message to say he'd been on it. I won't tell you what he said, though. No, he's actually put out a question, so it's all good. Oh God, here we go.
He's asked.
It's got to be about golf.
Can you read? Can you see this from here? Yeah, it's about golf.
No, I haven't. But we play a lot of golf together.
Ben has asked who the best golfer in the world referee squad is.
That's a good. It's got to be Ben. Like, it's frustrating to say this, but the guy is never off the golf course. He lives on a golf course to start with, and he is never off the golf course. I'm gonna happily claim a second place there. I'm gonna put myself in second, and then I'm gonna make a point to saying Andy Brace is way down the bottom. Terrible swing. No, he's not bad.
Henry Boot has asked what your handicap is. I feel like you know
Henry. Yeah, Henry. I know Henry. Henry's a friend to a friend, and we became close over the years. He's a good guy. My handicap at the moment, I think I'm on 13 point something, or maybe low 14s. So I rounded to about 14. I'll be honest with you, it's probably not that at the moment because I haven't played for a while. It's probably more up towards the 15, 16 mark if I grabbed a round tomorrow. I think I got down to around the 10, 11 mark. And then yeah, when I was playing all the time. It was actually during lockdown, you know, when we were allowed to go out and play. It was the only thing we were allowed to do. But yeah, after that, it climbed high.
Fair enough. Cam, one of the co-hosts that does the regular episodes with me, he's asked the question. Now, it's more towards your situation, because obviously we all know what's going on with the WRU and the players and all that, but obviously you're not a player, you're a referee. How is it affecting you personally with what's going on?
I suppose it's affected me not sort of contractually as such, because it's not, that's not my fight at the moment. But I suppose the way it's affected me is knowing some of the players and, you know, knowing some of the people in the WRU that's involved in it, and it's been tumultuous. Is that the word? I think that's the word, isn't it? It's been very chaotic. You know, speaking to players who I know, you know, have a personal relationship. And, you know, speaking to people I work with in the WRU, and I've worked with for 8 years, it's been tough. It hasn't personally affected me at this moment in time. It may do, I don't know. But yeah, in terms of like knowing people involved on both sides of the camp, it's been emotionally draining, I think. And I just hope it, you know, obviously there's been talks and stuff. I just hope that we are coming to a resolution to suit everyone, really.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. Obviously, you could read as much as you want into it, and you can take whatever the newspapers say, but the solution is get it sorted. One way or the other. That's the best thing I could say.
No one, you know, in any walk of life, no one wants to see, you know, people arguing and fighting, especially when it's in such a sort of open environment.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all hug, make up.
Just funny, it was that easy.
I know it's not that easy. If it was that easy, it wouldn't be news. But Cam's chucked another question in. Everyone's getting to sneak a little extra one into this week.
Yeah. A part A and a part B.
It must be just special for you then. So he's asked, any law that you would change to improve the game?
That's a really good question. I used to have an answer for this, and they actually ended up changing it, not because of me, but I think they just saw it as well. Was the kicking the ball out of rucks. You know, used to have big rangy second rows like Luke Charteris, boys like that, so would step over rucks when the ball was clearly won. The contest was completely over. Everyone was on the floor, and they'd step over and boot the ball, and it'd be just like so frustrating, so messy, so frustrating. It'd fragment the game. It was always messy for me. So I'm glad they did that, and also it was really dangerous. I remember. I think I yellow carded Josh Turnbull, 2015 maybe, and he stepped over to do exactly that. But as he did so, Paul Marshall, the Ulster 9, I think it's Paul, isn't it? Yeah, Paul Marshall, crouched down to pick the ball up, and he caught Paul on the front of the forehead and cut him open. And it was a really nasty incident. From that moment on, I was just thinking, we need to stop this kicking the ball out the ruck, because we're going to keep getting incidents like this. But luckily they changed it. I think I like what they've done with the goal line dropouts. Yeah. You know, a lot of time was spent at 5-meter scrums, you know, resetting, penalties, teams dropping it immediately if they were under the pump. So obviously the goal line dropout just, you know, rewarded good defence. We restart in an open play environment. So that was good. I did chat the other day about maybe at a penalty, you know, a penalty kick in law is a penalty kick. You've got options to kick a goal. You've got options to kick to touch. You've got options to take a tap kick penalty tap kick, and the same for a free kick. But then for some reason, we have this option for a scrum out of nowhere. And I like the idea of, if the penalty comes from a scrum, you can choose a scrum again. Yeah. Like the line out law, which is in law, that you can do that. You can opt to have the line out again. But I just think if it's, you know, an offside or anything like that, I just think sometimes, why are we given the option for a scrum when it's not a form of a kick, which a penalty was probably designed for. So that would be something I'd consider. But like everything in rugby, when you bring one thing in, it's sort of like a butterfly effect. and you've got to trial it in so many different areas and different styles of play. You know, you bring one thing in and it affects so many others. So you really have to be careful.
Sticking with the new laws and the trial runs and all that, Harv, my other co-host, has asked, what do you think of the new tackle laws?
To be honest, the height thing in England, is that what you mean?
The height thing, yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't really put much thought into it because I know, I recognise that at this moment in time, it's not going to affect me. And I think sometimes when you see these things being trialled or implemented in other countries, you can get yourself bogged down with what ifs. So because I won't be officiating using these sort of law trials or guidelines or implementations, I haven't really put much thought into it. It'll be interesting to see the statistics because there's statistics out there that say most head injuries come from tackler, or lots of head injuries come from tackled head to hip, head to knee when it's low. But it'll be interesting to see. I haven't really put too much thought into it.
That's fair enough. I didn't think it would affect you because I know you're employed by the WRU and it's a grassroots thing in England. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know there's been uproar in the press and by local teams and what have you, but I'll be interested to see how it goes. But honestly, I haven't put too much thought into it.
No, that's fair. Jemma, who does our other show, we've got 3 shows on, luckily enough.
Okay.
So, if you could add or remove any team in the Six Nations, who would it be?
No one. I think it's such an iconic tournament. The way Italy have been playing rugby the last year, people are calling for their next sort of last year, the year before. And I know they distilled those sort of rumours of they should be gone by sort of beating Georgia, who are the next best team in the tournament below them. The Six Nations B or Rugby Europe, for what it's called now. But no one, mate. They've been playing for some fantastic rugby. I know they haven't really got the results they wanted in the last, last week, for argument's sake, but they played some brilliant rugby. And Kieran Crowley is doing a grand job there. France, the way they've come back, everyone's got their individual styles of play, and it just makes for a brilliant tournament at the moment. There's talks of in the press and stuff of South Africa, and there's talks in South Africa, in the press there of them coming into the tournament. They could add something, I'm sure, because they're a world-class team. But at the moment, I just think we're in at the moment, as we stand in 2023, I think we're in a really good place. Best tournament in the world.
It is. I agree with you. I think the best way, I've always said this, to make it as fair as you can, and you're not just chucking somebody out to bring in a bigger name, and it is mostly with Rugby Europe. So say Georgia wins it, because that will probably happen because they're miles ahead.
Yeah, they're good team.
Italy, or in this case Wales, and get the wooden spoon, you would have, maybe not in a World Cup year because I know that's trickier, but the winner of the Rugby Europe Championship and the receiver of the wooden spoon in Six Nations, one test in the summer.
Okay, yeah.
Winner is in next year's Six Nations, and that's how you do it. Yeah,
like a playoff style game to test out if you're good enough to come into the tournament. Yeah, I if someone was to bring that to the table, I can understand why they would think that's a good idea. But as it stands, the Six Nations has always been these 6 teams, and it'd probably take a monumental change to oust the team or change the format of it.
And that way, you're not ousting one team. You are saying you have a really bad year, and you finish last. You have to fight for your place. Yeah.
Food for thought.
It is. So if the big wigs are listening, then
copyright it.
I've said it enough, so if people are listening, then hopefully that's it.
Yeah.
Jack Smith has asked, do you prefer TMOing or reffing, like being in the centre of the game?
Yeah, it's probably a question over the last year or two that I've been asked a bit as well. Reffing, without a shadow of a doubt. Got given the opportunity to use some TMOing at World Rugby level, to sort of they felt they had something to offer in that side of it. So I was more than happy to stay in the environment and keep doing this. Feel I've added some benefit to it, and I enjoy it. It's a different string to my bow. It's a different skill set altogether. You're not there watching the ball like you are as much as a referee in the middle. You're sort of looking for other things, foul play, things sort of that tend to happen around the ball more than on the ball. Checking people ball being passed, checking the tackler, checking the person who's passed the ball, etc. But yeah, it's without a shadow of a doubt, there's nothing better than lacing up your boots.
Fair enough. I like that. I love that. I've got 2 more questions for you before we go into a little bit something different.
Yeah.
One, what is your dream game to ref? So no strings attached. You could ref any 2 teams, any venue.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Growing up, obviously, some will know that my father was an international referee, and obviously went to watch him all the time on Boxing Days and whenever he was reffing local. And I always remember reffing Swansea Neath, or him reffing Swansea Neath. And I always remember my grandfather or my uncle would take me to watch the game. It would be at the Knoll, St Helens, wherever it was, packed to the rafters. And I always remember thinking, geez, I wouldn't mind playing in this. Now, I wasn't good enough to play in that. So the next thing was, could I, ref it? And obviously the regions happen now. And then it was sort of the Osprey Scarlets. That was the next big thing. And when I got that, it was like, wow, really, really happy to ref this. It's the local derby for me, live so close to both regions. So that was big tick boxes. But I think, if there was a dream game at the moment, you probably, like a France, New Zealand or something like that would be certainly up there. They're, 2 of the best teams. I'm not saying they are the best teams, but I think their styles would complement each other for the game. Both like to attack from everywhere, both physical sides, both good set pieces. Competitive set pieces. That would be a fantastic game. The games involving South Africa are always brilliant. The crowds are wild out there, like loud and intense crowds. Brilliant stadiums to ref in. And yeah, run touch a couple of times out there. Never ref a test match, ref club matches, but been on touch and test matches out there. And geez, you can feel them breathing on your neck out there. It's brilliant.
It sounds amazing, but it also sounds like terrifying at the same time.
You sort of switch off from it. I'm sure you said other refs have been on you as well, and they probably have said the same thing. It's just you sort of manage to shut off somehow, because you're concentrating on the job in hand, the task in hand, and you can hear noise around you, but yeah, you're just so concentrated on the job in hand, you sort of come off it, and then someone asks, "Oh, what was that like? What was the crowd like?" And like I don't remember. I remember being in games thinking the crowd were good, but I never look back in games and think, oh, how good. Only once actually I remember Connacht Munster game, and Fields of Athenry was bellowing round Thomond Park, and I remember it was at the end of the game. Connacht had just almost winning. I think, was it the Thomond Park game or the Sports Ground? It was one of them. And I remember the last 10 seconds of the game, Connacht were in possession. I just remember listening to I could hear them singing Fields of Athenry, and it was, wow, yeah, hairs to the back of the neck, standing up stuff.
It's a good song. Everyone loves it. It's good. Carry on. You're fine.
Oh no, I was just saying, it's a very traditional song in Ireland, sung by many. It's iconic when you hear the rugby or watch the rugby.
It's just it's probably not feel good when you read into it, the lyrics, but it feels good. Yeah,
it's obviously a popular song. I'd be lying if I said I knew it's probably a little bit ignorant of myself, but I don't know what the meanings of the lyrics as such. So apologies to the Irish listeners for that. But yeah, the song itself is obviously iconic to rugby because it's sung in so many stadiums.
Exactly. Final one before we go into a little bit something different. We've got you refereeing. You're centre of the field. Who's your dream assistant and who's your TMO? You can pick anyone you want.
It would probably be a mix between sort of boys, levels of competencies, versus, and knowing people and being friends with them. I think that brings the perfect blend. I think you can, just like a team, you can have 15 of the best players in the world. That doesn't mean they're going to play well together. Yeah. You look at football, teams try and sign 11 of the best players in the world, and all of a sudden they all want to be number one, and the teams don't function. So yeah, you've got to find a balance. I always enjoy working with my mates. As I say, Bracey, Ben O'Keefe hasn't run touch me, but boys like Pierce, Matt Carley, I always enjoy working with them because you sort of have this sort of connection off the field. And then that sort of is so transferable into the game. They know when I'm uncomfortable. I've worked with Bracey so many times. He ran touch me in my debut, and then I returned the favour, I hope, and ran touch in his debut in the league. I played against him since we were kids. We hated each other, by the way. That's another story. You sort of, I think he knows when I'm uncomfortable and when I need a call off him or, a bit of advice off him. And I hope that I can reciprocate that to him when he's uncomfortable. I can just watch him and just say, geez, he's in a hole here maybe, or Ben's in a hole here, needs pulling out.
No, that's good. I love that. And like you said, it is like a team. You click with certain people more than others. And So what we're saying here, we're going to have you, Ben O'Keefe, Andrew Brace, France versus New Zealand.
And I'll put Luke Pearce in the box as well. Then.
There you go.
You won't be happy with that.
And then we've got all three of our guests all on the same pitch. There you go.
Oh yeah, that is true. I'd have to have Matt Carley in there as well. I'll put him on the subs.
Okay. Oh God, we're going into too deep now. I thought there was only 4.
Yeah.
I forgot if you get injured, somebody else has to come on.
Yeah. He'll be waiting in the wings.
There we go, sorted. And we're going to go into something a little bit different now. It's getting to know you as a person more than a referee. So, cats or dogs?
Dogs. Dog on myself. Yeah.
What kind of dog?
She's a little cocker spaniel, 7-year-old cocker spaniel. She's mad.
They're all mad. They are.
Mad's a box of frogs.
Favorite film?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Oh, Dark Knight. I've watched it. It's the Batman film.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, watched that so many times. That would be, if there's nothing on, and I got a few hours to kill when I'm away, I tend to chuck that one on. The opening scene in it is good enough for me.
If there was a film on the life of Ben Whitehouse, who plays you?
Oh, this is controversial, isn't it? Oh Jesus! If I say someone like Brad Pitt, everyone say too ugly for Brad Pitt to play. Someone like Channing Tatum, he's a bit dorky. He's a bit dorky, isn't he? At times in some of his films. Yeah, Channing Tatum.
There we go. Favorite song, style of music. I kind of chucked those both together. So
yeah, I think I probably have one of the most eclectic tastes in music you can have. If you look at my Spotify here, I can have a playlist where you've got Catherine Jenkins one moment and then Slipknot the next. It's my music is all over the shop. This is always going berserk. Like, what are these songs? I will literally listen to anything depending on my mood. If I'm in the gym, tend to listen to sort of like hip hop, rap, dance music. And then if I'm in the car, we don't be surprised if Whitney Houston's blaring out the speakers.
I can't say much because if I'm on my own, it's very like rock, like Nickelback.
Yeah, same.
But if it's a family, and I don't know how this happened, but my little boy's favourite right now is Shania Twain. So
love a bit of Shania Twain.
There you go. So I can
just chuck it on shuffle, chuck the Spotify on shuffle, and just pick a song and press go to radio and just let it play.
Exactly. That's what you want. If it's a good song, it's a good song. It doesn't matter what genre it is.
I'd say like in the car at the moment, like a big, like this podcast, I'm big on podcasts. Because we do so much traveling, and there's only so much sort of songs you can listen to before you sort of start getting a little bit bored. So I just try to just change my podcasts up, whether it be sport podcasts, some true crime podcasts, and yeah, just try and mix it up a little bit, really.
There's a thing I like now, and I thought it's not really a podcast, it's just more a video sort of. It's the whole like, am I the asshole? And then it's a scenario. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, no, you're not. And then there's other ones I'm like, as soon as you hear it, I'm like, yes, you are. 100%.
Yeah. What do they say? If there isn't, if you haven't got one in your group, it's probably you. Or if you think you haven't got one in your group, it's probably you.
I love that. What is the nicest place you've visited and the nicest stadium you've been to?
That's a really good question. I love going to South Africa. Love going to South Africa. What a great addition to the URC they've been over the last few years. You know, the food, the golf. Yeah, South Africa's just got a country where it's just got everything. You know, there's hills where you can go hiking, there's golf, there's beaches, penguins, lions. It's mad what you can do and see in South Africa. I think I really enjoyed Canada. Actually talking about Bracey, me and him spent 3 weeks there for World Cup qualifiers a few years ago, 2017, I think it was. Brilliant country, friendly people, so hospitable. The referees that looked after us, the rugby people that looked after us, just felt part of a family out there, really. Wherever we went, we were looked after so well. So yeah, Canada's lovely, and then Wales.
Of course.
God's country, mate. God's country.
I'll give you second place. You can have that.
That's fine. I'll take it.
What is your favourite style of food or like food cuisine?
Probably Italian. Really. I think when you go to Italian, you can have pretty much everything. You can have pizza, pastas, steaks, chicken dishes. Probably a good Italian. Just come back from Parma myself.
Oh, nice.
Me and Sean Brickle spent the weekend out there reffing, and the food is tough to find a bad meal in Parma.
I love that. So what's your favourite pizza topping then?
Oh God, I do enjoy just a standard pepperoni. I really like just a standard good quality pepperoni on there. A proper Italian pizza. Not necessarily one from one of these big chains. Like a real nice Italian pizza.
I get you. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll say I don't think it belongs on pizza, but I think it complements sometimes a pizza.
No, it's just as bad.
I think it has its moments. It's like everything, isn't it? It's like everything. It has its moments. I think so. It's like Marmite, isn't it? Some people love it, some people hate it. But
I'll give you that. Yeah, that's fine. I'll give you that. Favorite or go-to post-match drink? So like after
Guinness.
Yes, there you go.
I think Guinness in the winter. We talked about South Africa there. Good, nice red wine. Out in South Africa, but yeah, a post-match pint goes hand in hand. A nice Guinness.
Post-match Guinness, pre-match Guinness if you can get away with it.
Yeah, it might make the ref better.
It might do. Any spirits that you go to if you go?
Not massively. Partial to an Aperol spritz out in Italy from time to time.
Nice.
I wouldn't be a massive spirit drinker as such. Just a Guinness in the winter. Sorry, and then maybe down the cricket club have a nice Madry, pint of Madry.
Enough. Happy days.
Yeah.
Any hobbies away from rugby?
So we talked about golf already.
Yeah.
But I play cricket every summer, and I have done since I was 6 years old, and haven't stopped really. I always think if I stop, I'll never start back again. I play. Last year I didn't get too many games in. I got about 10 or 12 games in. Still quite a lot. yeah, I'll give them a shout out, Gowton Cricket Club, the big GCC. Didn't have a good season last year, but we sadly got relegated to Division 2. But we'll be back. I'm sure we'll be back. We'll be back to fight another day.
I love that. I love the fighting talk. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. I just enjoy the competitiveness. You get a competitiveness with refereeing. In terms of like personal performance. But you don't ever get that winning or losing. You come off the field and you're like, oh God, how did that go? You haven't got a sort of a extrinsic sort of feel of win or lose. Like, have I won? Have I lost? Whereas, to sort of gauge a performance on, and it doesn't always, you can win and play badly, but I still just love coming off, a cricket field, win, lose or draw, just fighting to win a game. I miss that is the one thing I miss about playing.
No, I get you. I mean, I'm the same. I miss playing as well. So, but maybe one day. Never say never.
Yeah. I did. I actually played Boxing Day last year. Doing like our games were cancelled because of COVID, and Ken Clough, my team played a vets game, and they were like, "Oh, come and play." And I was like, "Oh, go on." I played at full back, and I was like, I said, "I'll just have like 10 minutes to the end," and they were like, "Yeah, 10 minutes to the end." And then the team sheet went up, and I was like, starting. I played 80 minutes, and I was absolutely ball bagged. I got up like a 70-year-old the next day, just like couldn't move. And I got onto the deck, and there must have been 20 sets of boots, 15 from the opposition, and 5 from my team as well, stamping all over me.
I love it. Do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't have any tattoos. No, I've thought about it, but no, not yet.
Fair enough.
Watch this space.
What kind of tattoo would you get?
I know, something sentimental, I think, if you're going to get it. I think, friends of mine have got, patterns and big patterns and stuff, but if I was to go a small one somewhere, I would get something sentimental, probably.
That's fair. The reason I'm asking is because I've got tattoos, so I always have that topic of conversation. So
yeah, well, I thought about it, but I think I'd have to put a bit of planning into it, see exactly what I want.
That's good. What is your goals in life? Any goals that you've still to achieve, or you'd like to achieve?
Just to be happy in everything I do. Enjoy what I do, work, enjoy what I do off field, the family stuff, the sports stuff. Just be happy and be as successful as I can be whilst still being happy. So I think it's a fine balance. It's a really good question, actually, but it's a fine balance. You can be successful but be unhappy, and it's striking a balance with, as I said, being successful whilst still being happy in what you're doing, because you can put so much pressure on yourselves in professional sport. You listen to the media, listen to people putting pressure on you, and you can just fall into this trap of thinking that rugby and sport is the be all and end all, and then you come home to your family, young kids, and they don't have a clue what's going on, and it's so sobering. They 2-year-old doesn't care, but 20,000 people have been calling me every name under the sun. He just wants to play with the Spider-Man toys and play football with me in the house. And it's brings you back down to earth real quickly. It's good.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Is there anything you're binge watching, or do you recommend to watch on Netflix?
Just had a text off the wife now. The Drive to Survive is back on Netflix. So so we'll be I'm sure binging that. We enjoy that. I've just actually, whilst I was away on the weekend, started the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime, which I'm enjoying. But watch this space. But yeah, that's what I'm into at the moment. What else did I watch recently that I really, really binged? I don't know. That's probably that's about it, really. Oh, I tell you what, we did enjoy during COVID was the Schitt's Creek on Netflix.
Me and my partner tried that. And, like, you read the cast, and like the mum from Home Alone, the dad from American Pie, his acting son, and I'm watching. I'm like, there's something missing. Like, there was bits I thought was really funny, and there's bits I'm like, what a lot of rubbish I'm watching.
We started watching it because friends of ours had said it was brilliant, and we were about 2 or 3 episodes in, and we were like, oh, no, not for us. But then they said, stick with it. You start to learn a bit about the characters, and once you sort of like understand the characters, you'll be hooked. So we were, come on, we'll at least watch the first season. So we watched the first season, and then just didn't look back. Just binged every single night. We were like 2, 3, 4 episodes, and then we told our my sister-in-law and brother-in-law to watch it as well, and they were exactly the same. 2 episodes in, no, that's not for us, and we were like, oh, stick with it. And then they got into it. So yeah, just maybe stick with it.
The comedy I've finally got my partner to watch is 2.5 Men.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I used to enjoy that back in the day.
So all on Prime now, so I'm loving it.
Yeah, I used to love a bit of 2.5 Men. Superstore as well. I don't know if you've watched that. It's just dorky comedy. Yeah,
it's really strange. Yeah, it's really strange comedy. Like you'll either get it straight away or you just won't get it.
And I think that's the other thing is it's another one you got to stick with, and then you understand the characters, and it's good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is winning the Guinness Six Nations this year?
That's a really good question. I honestly think it could be 3 or 4 teams realistically, couldn't it? France looks so strong. Ireland looks so drilled. France probably stuttered a little bit. They were a little bit slow starting against Italy, and then came back and not come back and won, but sort of pulled out a win there. Ireland just looks so strong. I thought we may do okay against Ireland. Wales, I say we. But then obviously they put us away, and then Scotland playing great rugby. Unbeaten at the moment. Your boys. But yeah, I think this weekend's a big weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Big weekend. France, Scotland, huge game. So many big games left to play before you could sort of realistically look who's going to be in that top 2.
That's fair. Quick predictions for the weekend then? Just
3 good games.
Oh,
that's all I want. I'm going to sit in the fence. I'm going to sit in the fence and say three entertaining games of rugby where the referees don't decide the outcomes, the players do.
There we go.
Political answer for you.
Final question for you tonight, Ben. One thing you'd like to be remembered for?
Just being a good guy. I hope that people see, and I incorporate all referees into this. People see us on the field. It was exactly the same when I was in the police, and people used to shout and call you F's and C's and B's and D's, every letter of the alphabet. But I always remember an old sergeant telling me, Ben, they're not shouting at you, mate. They're shouting the badges on your chest. And I think it's very much the same for refereeing, with a pantomime villain at times. And I'm pretty comfortable now sitting sort of in that zone of accepting that, we're not there to be liked. But I hope that when people take the time to spend an hour in my company, same as the other referees, I hope they come out of that sort of hour and go, oh yeah, he's a bloody good bloke. He is. He's good fun, enjoys life, gets it, gets the balance. And yeah, that would be, to sum it up, that would be probably it.
Yeah, no, I think I can vouch for you. You do come across as a nice guy. I've not met you in person yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day, and there hopefully will be a few Guinnesses.
As long as you're paying.
I'll pay for 1 or 2. Split it all down the middle.
Yeah. Okay, then go on. You buy the first round.
There you go. But yeah, you've absolutely smashed it. The book is now closed, and again, I can't thank you enough for agreeing to come on. It's been an absolute blast learning about your career, because you've obviously skyrocketed into professional rugby. You're now changing career path in a way.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I always said when I did this, I'm going to stay refereeing. I don't want to stop refereeing until I'm not. good enough. And there'll be plenty of people out there that say I'm not, or never have been. But until they sort of say you're enough refereeing, but I want to keep refereeing and do the TMO on the side and sort of enjoying the balance of it, isn't it?
Well, I love that, and I can't think of any other way to end this great interview. So I can't thank you enough, Ben. This has been the Final Whistle with Ben Whitehouse, and we'll see you next time.